picture you started with. We'll speak to you again for a more in-depth look in about half an hour.
Now, the charity Cure Leukemia has launched a campaign to fund treatment centres to speed up blood cancer trials for children across the UK. Now,
currently, the same chemotherapy methods which are offered to adults are also used to treat children. And whilst child cancer survival rates have doubled, more than doubled, since the 1970s, the long-term side effects can be very significant.
Let's take you through some of the figures on this. Cancer is one of the most common causes of death in young people. Every 14 minutes, someone in the UK is diagnosed with a form of blood cancer. 4 children diagnosed every day. We're joined here in the studio this morning by Professor Rob Wynne, who's consultant paediatric haematologist at Manchester Children's Hospital, also by Matt Gort, who lost his son Harry to leukemia. Very good morning to both of you. Matt, do you know, I never think it's the wrong thing to say I'm so sorry for your loss, because Harry was just 6 when he died.
Yes.
Can you just tell us what you will about his life and what happened to him?
So, Harry was just a gorgeous little lad, apple of his mum and dad's eye, and he was just a little boy who was dealt a very, very bad hand. He was diagnosed at 2. We lost him after a lengthy 3-year battle. As you say, he was 6 when we lost him, but in the short time that he was here, he absolutely made it count. And yeah, it is what it is.
I mean, it's lovely to hear you talk about him like that. That time when he was getting treatment obviously would have been very hard for him, very hard for you as a family.
Yes. So one of the things with the leukemia that Harry had, he was treated as an outpatient for the majority of the 3 years, which meant lots of hospital visits. You get lots of infections and things like that. But he also got to spend a lot of time at home, you know, with his mum and his brother and his family. And he was still able to enjoy, you know, the little things. We had, you know, Friday night was always disco night, and he loved, you know, dancing around and having a little wiggle. And yeah, he had some moves.
I feel obliged to ask what the song was. Was there a particular number?
His go-to was Happy. He just loved it.
What did you know, and I expect you to say not very much, of cancer treatment of children before Harry was diagnosed? Yeah. And, you know, and how children are treated and what the preparation is for that?
Before his diagnosis, I'd have to say my knowledge of the treatments that were available were very limited.
And I suppose we should bring in Rob, because this is what we're talking about partly, isn't it? About the way that children are treated in terms of what's established, in terms of availability, the treatment they receive, considering it's tested or weighed on adults.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky to look after kids with leukemia and to look after their families. It's a very privileged job. And I think you said it in your introduction that most kids with cancer, most kids with leukemia are cured. But for us, and of course for families, most is not enough. And another privilege of working in this field is that there are new treatments, new therapies. This field is so different than it was 5, 10, 15 years ago. But those new treatments need to be tested properly, and that means trials. So for families, for children, they need access to those treatments. If we think they're good, they need access to them. They need access quickly, but they need to be tested properly. We need to know that they're both better, but also safer than some of the other treatments.
And when you say safer, what are the implications? I mean, is it as basic as you're a grown man and Harry was a little person, you know, significantly smaller, a child? So dosage, for example, tolerance, for example, development, you know, physical development is different. How do you even say to a parent, can we put your child in a trial, even though they're so desperately ill, and the parent will be thinking, no, just cure my child.
There are lots of balances. I think very important to say children are not little adults. The drug doses might be different. And because they're small, they've got different side effects, late effects. They need to grow. They need to retain their fertility. So there is lots of differences. But of course, against those toxicities is balanced the very real need to cure kids. And that's where some of these newer treatments, they're both safer, so fewer side effects, but also more effective so that we can offer better treatments with fewer side effects. And trials is the way we deliver those. And there must be equity of access across the country. And what Cure Leukemia have done is to bring a trials network to adults with cancer, adults undergoing transplant. And what we want to do is to bring that to kids. There are lots of regulations around trials, and when we open a trial, we have to go through lots of hoops and hurdles. Now, those are correct and appropriate so that we can learn. But it takes time, and what the network does is to cut that time. So for, as you said, Naga, the family with the child in the bed, they are balancing the need for treatment to get their child better, but also the need to learn so that we can all bring these treatments forward. And that's what the network's about.
Professor, quite a few times you mentioned time there. These trials, you know, I know it's probably not a specific thing, is it? But what sort of time frame are we looking at in terms of when first patients could be having that treatment beyond the trials?
So that's important. So first of all, the time to open the trial. I can give you an example. We had a trial in Manchester recently for a very serious complication of transplant. It took us about a year to open it for all the right reasons. But when we opened it, we treated 8 or 9 kids with this serious complication of transplant. And all of those kids are alive and well. That's the importance of trials. We have treatments that we might work, but we need to open them quickly. And then through the trials process, we learn that the treatments are both effective and safe, and then you go on to license so they're available to everybody. So this is a well-trodden pathway from new drug, from concept, through early clinical trial, through to availability.
And I imagine, Matt, if that kind of system was in place, as it would have been an easier... It's always a learning curve. But it just would have been so much more reassuring knowing that the trials had happened and other children had gone through this, and you could gain information more quickly as a parent with an ill child.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the key things for me out of all of this is we're really good as a nation at fundraising and raising awareness of things after a tragic event has occurred. And that's something that's inherently wrong. Let's give this guy, this genius, the money, the tools, so he can work his magic, and we can get a paediatric trials network in place to help children in their hospital beds now.
Professor didn't even react when you said he was a genius. He was just looking towards the...
I thought he was talking about someone else, I'm sure he is.
And you two know each other because you've done charity events together, haven't you?
Yes. Rob last year cycled the route of the 𝗕𝗹cie, which is incredible.
But this guy ran from London to Paris, and that's about believing in this cause, I think, for both of us.
I think we can see some of the pictures there. Yeah, quite an achievement. Well, thank you so much for taking us through the science and the medicine, and Matt, for sharing your personal story. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.